Are you struggling to attract new customers? Today's episode is with Sean Garner with Sean Garner Consulting, which is a marketing agency that offers fractional chief marketing officer services. In today's episode, Sean teaches us how to build a sales funnel, a funnel that attracts new customers to your business and leads them down a path to do business with you so that you can solve their problems.
Welcome to the Business Growth Masterclass podcast, where business growth is made simple. Join us as we explore practical strategies for streamlining operations, boosting profits, and creating stable, valuable companies. We bring you stories from industry leaders sharing their wins, losses, and everything in between. Here we go.
Welcome to the podcast, Sean Garner.
I'm excited.
We're glad you're here. One of the things that I like to lead off with is something interesting about you, and doing a little homework. Being a Men's Health magazine contributor. Tell us about that, Sean.
And he got his picture taken. So go ahead and Google that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you can Google Sean Garner Men's Health magazine. You probably see some things that you don't want to look at. So I was in the fitness industry for a really long time, and how I got in the magazine was a two-step process. The first thing was I went on a reality TV show. So the reality show is called Next Top Trainer, and you can YouTube that if you guys want to later. It's like American Idol for personal trainers. Yeah. And so I went on that show, and it was like a web-based show. It wasn't like on like broadcast TV or anything like that, but it was a web-based show that Men's Health hosted. I owned a gym at the time and applied, went on the show, and I was on season 2, and I got second place in the show. Typically, if you get second place, like you get nothing. It's like it's like, think about all the other like reality shows, like they either win it or it's like, okay, people forget about them a few days later. But whenever I went on, I was working with a business coach at the time. And because I was owning a gym, and he said, whenever you go there, he said, get everybody's contact information, and I'm going to show you what to do with it afterwards. So I went on the show, and when I was there, I was snapping selfies with every single person on staff, like the guy that's holding like the boom microphone, the lighting guys, every single person. And on the last day, I got all of their contact information. And then so I got back, and he said, this is what you're going to do. He said, you are going to go to the dollar store. You're going to buy just this cheap little plexiglass picture frame, and you're going to put those pictures in it. You're going to mail each one of them a handwritten thank you note and just thank them for the opportunity of the show. Did that to every single person that was on there. Didn't hear anything for about 3 months. Then out of the blue one day, the head fitness editor called me, and he's like, hey, I just want to let you know, like, I've been in my office for about 6 months, and I don't even have a picture of my wife, but for some reason your picture is sitting on my desk. And so long story short, because of those thank you cards, that started my first article with them. And then that one did well, and it turned into social media content, turned into being a regular contributor for social media videos, for writing, and then eventually got to have my own like at-home fitness DVD called I think it's like 6 weeks sweat off is what they called it.
Order now.
So yeah. Buy now. Yeah, sure. It's the gift that keeps on giving. So yeah, that was my fitness celebrity status, I guess, that I had for a little bit for doing things with that. But now it's one of those things. Now it's just is like a gift that I give to people for like gag gifts for like Christmas and stuff. So maybe if you boys are lucky, you will get a 6 week sweat off DVD for Christmas.
I need that 6 weeks in my life.
Oh, my stocking.
Man,
I had no idea you were on a reality TV show. You sandbagger.
I know.
You gotta lead with that, man.
Yeah, you intro yourself every conversation with that.
Hey,
but
I'm kind of a big deal. People know me. I've got many leather bound books, and my office smells of rich mahogany.
well, this is the second place reality show guest we've had on the show, because Cole Wisenhunt was second place on Night School with Bobby Knight back in like 2004. So fun fact for our listeners out there.
If you want to be a first loser, go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. That's what second
We'll take
is.
all the second place people we can get. Well, Sean, I love that because I already see your marketing mind at work. Because even when you're a fitness coach, you're already thinking about how to market your business. And so I guess there was a point where you pivoted, right? You went from being a fitness coach to now doing what you're doing now as a fractional CMO and marketing service. So can you tell us how you got into that? How did you make that transition?
Yeah. So I even got into entrepreneurship whenever I was working as a firefighter. So I've had many jobs in my day. I went to school to be a youth minister. I ended up then going and becoming into a restaurant manager, hated that, managed several restaurants, got into the fire service, was a firefighter paramedic for about 5 or 6 years. And then whenever I was joining the fire service, that's what got me into fitness. Because before that, like I was like not an athlete, not a fit person at all. Jokingly, my wife always like makes fun of us because when we got married, we were the same weight, and it's not because my wife was fat. I was like this scrawny, skinny little like beanpole, like 130-pound kid, and just played skateboard and played video games. I was completely opposite of what I am now. So once I joined the fire service, that got me into fitness, and so I honestly started our first business because my wife was like, "Hey, that's great, you're a firefighter now." We didn't have any kids, but she's like, "You're home too much." Like as a firefighter, you only work 10 days a month. And so we ended up opening up a gym. And so I had gotten into fitness and everything. So we ended up opening up a gym. It did really well. After about the first year, I ended up having the opportunity to leave the fire service because the gym was doing so well. And so we ended up being a full-time entrepreneur and gym owner. And then that led us to buying out a second gym, which was a competition gym to us about a mile away. We owned a couple of gyms, was in the fitness industry for a very, very long time, bought the gym, sold the gyms, lost a lot of money in gyms because I was just, pride comes before the fall. So we had 2 gyms that did really well. I sold those, made some money, and thought I was like this fitness guru, and ended up opening up a 3rd gym and lost every single penny, plus probably 6 figures more than what we had put into it. And it was a horrible deal. Ended up closing all that stuff down, and we moved to Miami, still starting working in the fitness industry. And that's kind of whenever the like social media things started taking off, and I started doing brand deals for fitness. I was working for, I was starting to do this stuff for Men's Health Magazine as the writer and fitness advisor. So people were seeing me on social media because of that. And so I was doing these brand deals for creating social content for myself, for all of these different companies. And then I started having some colleagues and other personal trainer friends that I was working with, like ask me how I was doing some of this stuff online, because I was doing this brand deal stuff. I had started doing this online training product that I created called Project Dad Bod, which was helping busy dads get fit. And I was doing all that stuff. And I was having my friends ask me like, "Hey, like you're making all this extra money on the side. Like, can you show me how to do that?" And I was all self-taught with all of this stuff. I was watching YouTube videos, how to build funnels, websites, email marketing and stuff. And so I started having all my friends ask me how to do it, and I started helping them with it. And then I started realizing I was enjoying helping them grow their business more than I was enjoyed actually doing the training side of things. And so that slowly started morphing to where I was training less and less people, to where I eventually ended up leaving like training people in person. And I was working in the digital fitness space with a fitness app. I had my own consulting business where I was just helping personal trainers and gym owners transfer their business and make an online business that way. And then I had my attorney one day. He came to me. He's like, "Hey man, you're doing great with all these personal trainers and gym owners, but it seems as if the same stuff you're doing for them, I need for my business. Do you think it would work?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure. Let's try it." So ended up doing, getting his marketing funnel and everything set up. And then my wife ended up opening up her own medical practice about 4 years ago. And she's like, "Hey babe, like, you know how to do all this stuff. Like, we don't need to hire a marketing company. You just do it." I was like, "All right, cool. Let's figure it out." So we ended up setting it all up and getting her marketing funnel set up. And that just slowly shifted over time to where, just like I had the shift of realizing I like helping people, trainers build their business more than training people. Then I also realized I really didn't like the fitness industry, and I liked helping other businesses, like service-based businesses, a lot more than just the, people trying to share and show their 6-pack. And so ended up just doing that. And so the business just slowly morphed, like less consulting, more agency services, because I was realizing I was telling people how to do all this stuff because I was excited about learning it myself, but very few business owners have the time to do that, nor want to do that, because they didn't get into business to learn how to make websites and funnels and marketing. They wanted to serve their clients. And so I just kind of has slowly evolved over time, over the past, 10 plus years, to now it's just a full service marketing agency and fractional CMO services.
Completely unrelated question, but I'm going somewhere with this. Were you like a straight A student?
No. I barely graduated high school. The college that I went to, It sounds super holy and spiritual because I went to youth ministry, but it's because they had the lowest acceptance rate of an ACT score because it was a Bible college. So I was able to, that was the only college I was able to even get into. And it also just happened that the girl that I was dating that ends up being my wife, I was going there as well.
So it worked out.
That worked out. So I say that to say you're okay with trying stuff. It sounds like, and I think most of our society, like school teaches you don't fail. Like you better get straight A's. You can't make any mistakes. You just need to get it right. Get it right from the start.
Take the certain path.
And I didn't know, you had 8 different careers before this, but it all makes perfect sense. And I think as an entrepreneur, being okay with trying things and learning about yourself, learning what you're good at, what naturally, lights that fire within you. That's one of those things. Like I want to teach my boys of, hey guys, we're going to try stuff. We're going to be bad at it. And that's okay because we're going to learn something and we're going to learn something about ourselves. And so what is it in you? Was that your parents? Was that you didn't have a choice? I mean, what is it in you that made it okay to try all these different things and, frankly, maybe suck at it or hate it and then move to the next thing?
Man, I think that's a great question because that's also just things like in a society that we have now. I think social media exacerbates the problem because it's able to see like this perfect, like everybody thinks it's this perfect lifestyle that all of these people have. And they even glorify entrepreneurship, which I love it. I personally believe everybody should have some type of side business. It doesn't have to be their full-time thing, but that's just my own personal belief. But also at the same time that not everybody should be an entrepreneur full-time. But saying that, I think a lot of it had to do with just being ignorant because I didn't know better. I didn't know that I was doing bad until I was doing bad. And I was like, oh, okay, well, this worked. Like maybe something else can work. I think there is a level of me that always has the thought of, it's like was it the Roger Bannister or whoever, the guy that broke the 4-minute mile originally? It's kind of, I've always had that same philosophy to where I might not have ever been first on something, but if I saw somebody else had done things, I was like, well, if they can do it, why not me? And that's kind of honestly my mindset with a lot of the stuff. Well, if they can do it, why not me? And now, I mean, getting biblical, God's no respecter of persons. So if that person can do it, why not me? And so that's what I use now is now I love seeing other people win because I'm like, that's awesome. Because if they did it, why not me? And but growing up, like I did not grow up with entrepreneurial families. I grew up, and so it's probably one of those things like in spite of how you grew up, like I grew up very, very, I would say middle class at best, but pretty poor. And like raised a family of 5 with, $30K a year, like didn't have a lot of extra. And I think because of that, I saw the outcome of that, but I also saw the input of that. So because I had seen, I'll say it this way, when I moved to Miami, that was the biggest mindset shift that I ever had. Because I grew up in Tulsa, Oklahoma, Midwest, middle-class America. And then whenever I went to Miami, I was exposed to a different mindset and a level of wealth that I thought was only in movies and was fake. But I had the opportunity to train with people that were literal billionaires, and the way that they would think about money and talk about opportunities and everything, it had this completely different shift in my mind. So before I went to Miami, the businesses that we owned were the gyms. It was very much trading time for money, and it was buying and creating myself a job. And then once I start hanging around these, guys worth 100 million to billionaires, and the way they talk about things and think about things, they encouraged me to do more and to fail because they would tell me their stories. Like you look at these guys and you think, oh man, this guy probably just had it together his whole life. He worked for his hedge fund, but every single one of them, especially the ones that I truly respected, they all came from nothing as well. And they talked about how they had to fail multiple times. I remember one of them, he created the software that goes inside of like the little turnpike passes inside of your cars and stuff. He created that software and stuff for it. And he was like, Sean, just 10 years ago, I was bankrupt in my attic working on a laptop, and I was going down the road for a divorce. And then he said, I just sold my company, 6 months ago at the time, for about $300 million. He said,
Wow.
and so one thing that he said all the time that resonated, I still think about it all the time. He said, what will you be? Where will you be? And what will you do in the next 10 years? So there's always like this thought of like, man, where you're at now is not the final destination. And
Yeah.
so if you can view, like you just said, Albert, like everything is a learning experience, and we can realize that where you're at is not the end destination, but there's always way for improvement. And there's so many opportunities out there. I truly believe like when you don't quit, you win. And so it's those that are able to stick and stay and persevere. I mean, those are the ones that make it. But we have as a society think that it's supposed to be perfect all the time. And when it's not, they just want to quit, but that's not how it is.
That we say that all the time. You only quit when you only lose when you give up.
Yeah, I tell my kids, Ketchersids never quit. And then my oldest son likes to say, except when they do. Which is a sarcastic response. But no, what I take away from that too is like, and I think you're a great example of this, is being okay with the uncertainty, but just going for it. Because the uncertainty means maybe this won't work out, but maybe this will be a big thing that will lead to more big things you can't even see yet, right? Because I would imagine you didn't know how you were going to evolve along this path when you started out. Like, it's like the door opened for gym ownership, and then the door opened for marketing for gym owners, and so on and so forth. And now you're here. And I think that's what a lot of people are afraid of, is like, if I set out on this path, I don't know exactly where it's going to go. Mm-hmm. And that's scary. But I think to flip that, you say, well, no, that's exciting, because who knows where this might go.
Yeah. And I would add to that, like as an entrepreneur, it takes a little bit of, I don't know how to say the word. You have to be naive to a degree, just ignorant enough.
Ignorance is bliss.
Just ignorant enough to think you could.
Yeah.
And like you said, like you take a leap of faith, and you're going to be bad at it, but you have the courage to keep doing that until you develop the capability to do it. And then it's just another skill set and just another Monday.
Yeah. And it's okay if you don't always hit a home run. And speaking of that, I'm curious for you, Sean, whenever you've gone through this process, can you tell us about a time where, you fell flat on your face, or something that you thought was going to be a big win was not?
Almost probably everything except for what I'm doing now. Like, I think that it's always, not always, but it's been failures in the eyes of the world, obviously financially, but because I truly believe that the reason I am where I'm at now is because I learned from all those mistakes. And it took a long time. For me, the biggest limiting factor for what held me back forever is I'm just now at the point where, not that I would say that I've arrived or I'm wise, but I'm definitely wiser, is I was very much spiritually immature. And so because I was spiritually immature, that was keeping me blind to several other things. So for the first, I would say 10 years of marriage and with business and everything else like that, I was so spiritually immature. I wasn't properly leading my family. I didn't really know who I was, especially who I was in Christ. And I was so ignorant to the fact of when something went wrong, I would just always blame other people. And so if it went wrong, it's like, oh, well, that didn't work out. Like the gym that I told you that I sold the two of the gyms, made some money, and then I invested in this third gym because I was like, oh, I'm going to move to a bigger city now. We've got a bigger location. I'm a genius. I had like the largest. We had CrossFit gyms. I had the largest CrossFit gym in Oklahoma at one point. It's like, I know what I'm doing. Like I said, pride, I didn't say it, Bible says it, but pride comes before the fall. And I was so prideful in it. When that gym failed, because my pride and ego was so big, I was seeking to blame other people. I was not able to take personal responsibility or ownership for any of the decisions. And it took me several years after the fact, when I actually started to grow and become more spiritually mature, to be able to step back and be like, oh, I see exactly what I did now. I was an idiot. To where that's obviously led me now to where now, not that I make every decision perfectly, but now because of where I'm at, is I can look at things with a more outside perspective of when things aren't working, of being able to understand when to pivot.
Yeah. So that balance of humility that you just talked about and getting humbled by some of the things you go for, but also not losing that side of you that's willing to go for it. I feel like that's a tough balance to strike, but when you get it right, great things can happen.
Yeah. You have to be willing to go out if you want to make it big and to really have big dreams, big goals, and actually accomplish those things. 'Cause lots of people have big dreams and big goals, but very few people do the necessary step, which is taking action. What I tell clients and stuff all the time is if you are waiting to be absolutely proud of your website, your product, whatever it is, before you launch it, you're waiting too long. Like I say all the time, done is better than perfect. And you need to just go out there and take action, because too many people want everything to look 100% perfect, because we talked about the comparison syndrome, all the things you see on social media and stuff. Oh, it's got to be 100%. Well, I don't know exactly how much. Just get out there and start doing stuff. Especially whenever you're first starting out, because you're going to learn more and have quicker growth by going out there and being in the workforce and making things happen and doing things than you are by any book you could read, any course you could take, and just sitting back there and not having real world experience. You get the failure. It's only failure if you look at it that way, because the experience that you get from that is 10x return on any book, course, mentor, or anything else like that you could have.
So true.
Yeah. And spoiler alert, our Stag Business Coaching, we are clients of yours.
Yep.
And you are our fractional chief marketing officer. And so talk about putting something imperfect out there.
Yep. Right here.
We're only doing this podcast because you said, guys, this is a tool that you guys need to develop and begin using. And man, I like to think we will always be trying to get better at this, and
I hope so.
Little 1% every time. But those first 4 episodes are painful, and I know we are our own worst critics. But man, I didn't like anything I said, any way I said it, how quickly I said it, how it took me 5 sentences to say something that should have taken 1.
But look at this though. How long ago did you guys start this? The podcast?
3 months ago.
Yeah, I was gonna say 3 months tops, right? And then in the past 3 months, you've done now, like we're recording like episodes in the 20s now, right?
This is episode 22. And we
double deuce.
We put this, we highlighted this one.
This is a big one
because something you told us 3 months ago were, and I can't remember who the quote's from, but only 1% of podcasters get past episode 21. And so thanks to you, we are in the 1% club.
Hey, top 1%ers. But look at this. So this is what I mean. You think about all of the podcasts you guys have listened to, courses you could have bought, all of the different things. You guys are not poor speakers. You guys are not poor communicators. You guys communicate often. But look how much exponential growth you have had in the past 3 months by just doing it. And guess what? The first couple episodes, they were not amazing. But look how the exponential growth that there's been since then. And if that same trajectory continues, like I remember talking to you guys like, hey, we're not going to create the Joe Rogan podcast, episode 1. But imagine, look, for one, props to you guys for actually taking action and doing it, and for being comfortable with not being perfect. And then 2, look at the growth that you've already had. Imagine what is going to look like for all aspects of your life just by persevering and continuing to do this. Because what people don't realize is disciplines carry over to other aspects of your life. So just by taking action and doing the discipline on this, yes, you're doing a podcast. Yes, it's going to help your business grow. Yes, it's going to get you more exposure. But look at the communication skills that you're developing, the network that you are growing and expanding. Like there's exponential returns on taking action. And too often people look at the return of the actual thing that they're doing, and they don't look at the ripple effect of just what it takes to take action. Think about just the subconscious psychological things that have happened of you guys doing something that you were uncomfortable with, and now starting to see the growth and the fruit from those things. Like it's going to carry over to every aspect of your life.
Yeah. And I try to tell my boys that often, and I don't say it in this way, but how you do one thing is how you do everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so if you're disciplined and you do what you say you're going to do in one area, that chances are you're going to do that in every area, whether that's your health, your family, your faith, your job,
Yeah.
whatever. I think, people's character, and this is why I feel like we're in business together, is because we trust each other's character. And that's such a vital thing in doing business.
Yeah, you just never know how working on a skill or taking action, like Sean's saying, is going to help you down the road in a totally different area that you never anticipated.
Mm-hmm.
And, you work on this public speaking, like I'm thinking about high school public speaking, like you never know whenever that's going to help you down the road, or you're going to build trust in other ways. And I love that Sean has been a big encouragement to us as we're trying to go down this road. So I'm curious about, for you, Sean, aside from, I'm sure, Sean working with Stag has been nothing but inspiring, but tell us about some rewarding experiences that you've had doing what you're doing.
I was thinking about that earlier because you guys had said something about that, and just thinking about looking at the commonalities as I was sending you guys over some stuff about like the men's health thing and everything before we got on there, and it led me down like memory lane. I'm like, oh my gosh, that was like 7 years ago, 10 years ago. I was looking at some of this old stuff, and then I was just kind of sitting like here in the office reflecting before we were getting started. I was like, it seems very random for the career path, but when I look at it now, I'm starting to see some commonalities. And if I could boil down what I do now and what I enjoy and the fulfillment that I get from it, I like helping people, serving people, and teaching people. And those three things, it's been that way whenever I was obviously in ministry. It was that way when I was in the food service serving people. It was like that when I was a firefighter. It was like that when I was in fitness. And now it's like that with was business coaching, and now the marketing agency services. What I like seeing is people getting it. Like whenever they have their aha moment, or that plateau thing that they were breaking through, that they were stuck at. So when it was the fitness people, it was like maybe I worked with a lot of pro athletes, and we had a sports performance facility, but like the guys that like maybe they thought they were done playing because they had an injury, and we were able to get them back, and like their face lights up because like, hey, it's not over for me, or I get to go play in college and stuff like that. Or the mom or the dad that had the energy or the injury, or they thought they had like reached their peak and they lost the weight and they got where they're at. And now when it translates to the business, like the business owner that's, been in business for a long time, like, man, I felt like this is just kind of as good as it gets. Like, no, there's so much more. And having them see that aha moment and those breakthrough moments, or a newer business, just like with you guys getting started, of just like seeing what's actually possible of like entrepreneurship. And you guys have multiple businesses that you guys run, but just helping get something started and getting them to see that aha moment. Because I said at the beginning, I don't think that entrepreneurship is for everyone, but I think everyone can do it. And that sounds kind of like an oxymoron, but I think anybody can do it if they have what it takes and they're really willing to persevere and push through it. But because most people aren't willing to do that, that's why they shouldn't do it.
I love that. I mean, of course, social media glorifies it and glorifies the grind and hustle culture, and then at the same time romanticizes how easy and predictable it is, and it isn't. I do want to tease out a little bit of what you do now, and so obviously you have a marketing agency and you offer fractional CMO or Chief Marketing Officer service. Can you kind of describe to our listeners, like what is that? How do I explain that to my mom, or how do I explain that to my 6-year-old?
My mom asked me the other day, she's like, so what do you do? I see you like make these videos on the internet. Like, are you like a podcaster? Like, what do you do? I was like, okay, Mom, this is what I do. So how I explain it to people is like the quick pitch is we build, fill, and optimize sales funnels. And what a sales funnel is to us, it's not a website, it's not a software tool that you use. It is a process of taking people from not knowing who you are to becoming a super fan customer for life. So we use that with various technologies, websites, messaging, social media content to make those things happen. But what we do and what we kind of specialize in is working with service-based businesses, typically that are looking to book calls, schedule appointments. We help them get in front of their dream customers, find those dream customers, enter them into some type of a sales funnel system so they actually end up becoming customers for them. That's like our boom of what we do. And because most agencies, the agency now has shifted because of bad experiences that I have had. So I started out with doing just the business coaching side for the fitness professionals. But then I realized I was telling everybody how to do things, but they weren't executing on things. So I would say, hey, you guys got to go learn how to build a website. And these guys are personal trainers. Like, I don't want to learn how to do that stuff. I was like, okay, well, I'll just do it for you and you can pay me. And so then I started doing it and I was like, I don't want to build websites all day. I need to hire people. And so I would have to hire people out. And then it just slowly started expanding to where I was realizing I could tell people things, but if they weren't willing to take action and do the things, one of my favorite quotes is knowledge without execution is meaningless. So I can tell them things all day, but if nobody's executing on it, it doesn't matter. It's not going to help them out. And so we started doing more and more of these agency services. And I realized the more we did for people, the less they kind of needed to be told. It's kind of almost like one of those things where it's like, how about this? You just go do what you like to do and just let me take care of this other stuff. So that's kind of where the agency hybrid model of agency services, plus we also offer fractional CMO for some of our clients like you, that where we're not just executing on things, we're giving you the strategy of things and everything is cohesive. Because what a lot of marketing agencies will do is you'll hire them and they might make you a really beautiful website. And then you might find somebody else that is like, hey, I can do social media content for you. And they'll go over there and they'll help do social media content. But nobody has a unified strategy. So the brand feels very unauthentic and fragmented because you've got multiple people with multiple different strategies doing things. So what we do is, one, we come in with a unified strategy to help create your brand messaging and create this whole sales funnel process. But then we just don't tell you how to do it. We actually do it and we help you implement everything as well. So we give you the strategy, plus we also actually just do the work for you.
Yeah, that's so great. And thinking from a strategic level and having everything be coherent and go together instead of just like, we built this piece and then we built that piece and they kind of go together, but we were in different mindsets when we did that. I feel like that's a common pitfall for a lot of business owners.
And marketing is so woo to me, especially as an outsider. Yeah. I'm like, I don't know what that is. I don't know what the goal is. And what you've really helped articulate and along with, Donald Miller's programs, which were both certified in various forms of that, is how do I communicate clearly to a customer describing a problem that they're experiencing?
Yeah.
And then how can our service, product, whatever, help them solve that issue? And then as from the marketing perspective, it's how can I communicate that as clearly, as engaging, as whatever, that customer gets that, feels that, and then is engaged in the conversation and wants to learn a little bit more.
Yeah.
And a little bit more working down that funnel until you get to the point of sale. And that you really demystified that for us. And I obviously we haven't arrived and I don't know that we fully get it, but I do appreciate that part of you, that the teacher part of you that has really held our hand and taught us something completely different, a completely different side of business. And we've read a lot of books and have multiple companies and man, I've really enjoyed this process. And you've given us so many nuggets and so many really practical tools that we're implementing on all of our businesses. And so I guess I want to ask, what's one thing that you think businesses get wrong when it comes to marketing?
A lot, but I think I would probably say one of the most common things that I see is they focus on the right things, but in the wrong order. So one of the things that I think is foundational, you mentioned Don Miller. Our agency is certified story brand guide. So for us, it always comes down to messaging. And I think oftentimes people get more consumed with the visual aspects of their brand than they do the actual words and the meaning of what their brand is. And so for us, we always focus on words first. Whenever we're working with clients, 100%, we're going to put together a brand package for you. I am horrible on that part of it with working with my clients because I really don't care. I tell them this all the time of like, they'll ask me opinions on logos and colors. I'm like, I don't care. The example I always use is P90X is a dumb name, but it made millions of dollars. So you make the name. I've seen really wealthy companies with awesome logos, and I've seen really poor companies with awesome logos. You make it, and how you make it is with your character and your essence and your true aspect of your brand, which I think comes down to the words, how you actually are going to be communicating the problem that you solve and how you make your customers' lives better. And so too often, I think what businesses do, especially when they're first starting out, is they will the first thing that they'll do is like, hey, I'm starting a business, I need a website. And so they'll pay a graphic designer that makes these beautiful websites, and it might look really good, make them this website. But they made them a website almost as like a piece of art. So it looks really pretty, but there is no clear messaging behind it. There's no cohesive strategy to actually guide customers once they're on that website to be either becoming a customer or becoming a lead. And it just looks really good. And then they'll do that, and they're like, okay, I need to, I'm supposed to be doing some social media content. So let's try to go viral on social media. My nephew, he knows social media. He can maybe help us with that. And then, nephew, Dave starts helping shoot social media content and stuff. And Dave's thinking about it from his perspective as like a young 20-year-old kid, doesn't have a clue about the business, the problem they solve, or the brand and the messaging and stuff like that. And now Dave is shooting the social media content. They're like, well, this isn't working. We should spend money on paid ads now. And so now they start dumping money in pay-per-click ads with Google and Facebook ads and stuff like that. And they've hired another person that's doing that, and they're saving money. So they're going to use Upwork or somebody from overseas and stuff to do that. That has no idea about the brand, the culture, or anything like that they're trying to market to. And then they get frustrated and they're like, I don't understand why it's not working. That is oftentimes where we get a client. And so they're like, I've tried everything, it's not working. And so the very first thing that we always go back to is like, well, what's the problem you solve? And what I have found is, this might sound a little foo-foo-y, but not enough businesses love and are obsessed with their customers. Like, they think so much about themselves, they don't think enough about actually how they're helping their customers and the problems of their customers. This might sound weird to you guys. I think about you all the time. Like, even weirder, I think about you when I'm in the shower. Like, I'm always thinking about you guys, all of the clients that we have. Like, man, what could we be doing to help? What are tools that we need to be creating so we can better serve our clients? Man, what can I do to help them get better, like more podcast guests, or what can I do to help, drive traffic to the website? I wonder if we just tweak that one button on their website, if that would increase. Like, I'm constantly obsessing about my customers. And because I do that, that helps me to be able to clearly communicate to them. That's why, just like with you guys, if you go to my website, it probably feels, because you're my customers, man, it sounds like he's talking directly to us. Well, it's because I obsess about the type of person that I want to work with so much that my marketing comes across for that person. And I'm not trying to be all things to all people. I'm very clear on the problem that I solve and how I'm going to make their life better. So the people that want that, they are attracted to that. And I think because they're doing things in the wrong order, they're not focusing on the messaging, and that's keeping most businesses stuck with where they're at.
That's so true about drawing into your life the people. I mean, it works in life and in business. Put out there authentic who you are, who you want to attract into your business as a customer, and serve those people. No, it's not about you when you make it about them and giving them the most value for engaging with your business. Now, everybody wins and they walk away wanting to tell all their friends because they had a great experience with you. So I know that's what we have with you, and that's what we want for all of our clients too. It's like, man, what a great thing I got out of this business coaching. Like, it's the best money I ever spent.
Business exists to solve problems, right? To solve customers' problems. And that's what marketing is, that we've learned, is how can I describe this customer's problem in a way that they can see themselves in that. And then how do it, go solve it?
Yeah. How are we going to take them on that journey?
Yeah. Go fix that problem and you've broke me, Sean. Any website that I go to now that is this beautiful website that is this homage to this business and the founder and what he's done in his career and what the last 30 years have looked like. And I'm like, I don't know what problem they solve.
Yeah.
I don't know how to do business with them. If I can't read this website in 8 seconds and know exactly what problem they solve and how I can do business with them in 2 clicks or less, I'm mad. You've ruined me.
And it's a common problem. I do want to shift gears.
Okay.
Because I have a question for Sean as we've been talking, and I know you're a family man. I know you and your wife work together or collaborate on different things. So for a lot of people out there listening, how do you manage, you're thinking about us a lot, apparently, which is great, but also
in the shower. Yeah.
But how do you manage running a business and also being there as a husband, as a father, man of faith, all the things that are also important and those things even more important to you?
I do not believe that there is such a thing as work-life balance. I don't think that is a thing, or can it exist? Because if you have work-life balance, it means that those things are equal. And so I don't think that they should be equal. I think what you should have is work-life priorities. So oftentimes what happens is they're trying to balance things and they don't realize that by trying to balance things, you're putting your work and your career equal with your family. For me, I'm a Christian. I'm a man of God.
Yeah.
My work should not be equal to my relationship with God. My relationship with my family shouldn't be greater than my relationship with God. So for me, it's about trying my best to make sure it's prioritized in the right alignment versus the balance beam. Like if you think about this teeter-totter thing.
Yeah.
I have not mastered this. And this is something that my wife and I are constantly working on, because just like everyone else in life, we're busy. Together we own 4 companies. We've got the marketing agency. We have a short-term real estate Airbnb business that we do. We have an IV therapy lounge that we own, and we own a medical clinic. So we've got a lot of different things that we're doing. Plus we got 3 kids that are, 11, 10, and 5. So we're busy with kids events and stuff. Plus I'm also in full-time ministry school right now. And so there's a lot that's going on. And so if I'm trying to balance all of those things, something is going to be out of priority. And so for us, what we try to do is we try to make sure that we're in alignment with priorities instead of trying to balance things. And then for her and I, we have just some actual practical things that we do, because I do think things will come and go in seasons. So we are coming into a season now to where whenever probably about 4 years ago, it was my time. So I was working crazy amount of hours and stuff like that. And my wife was kind of stepping back, and she was doing more of the family stuff and everything, right? And all that stuff. Then during COVID and everything, we shifted and pivoted things, and to where because she was starting her medical practice at that point. So then I started doing more of the stuff around the house, cooking and doing things around with shuffling the kids around and stuff a lot more. Well, now over about the past probably about year, we've started to kind of shift back, because we're at a transition point in all of our businesses to where now her medical practice is very blessed and successful. She's on a 3-month waiting list to become a new patient for her. So it's solid. And then the marketing agency is doing really well. But with me being in school full time, plus the agency has exploded over the past 12 months. And then I'm also shifting into starting a new software company. It's kind of she's starting to now be all right, now I'm going to start doing a little bit more of the stuff. And not saying at all that she didn't do anything. But now she's definitely taking a whole lot more. And I'm definitely stepping back from more of the day-to-day family activities and stuff, even though it's still extremely busy. But we have to have that stuff in alignment. We have to have a plan for seasons. And then her and I do a lot of practical things. So you got to date your wife. We've been married for 19 and a half years. We're coming up here on year 20 and everything. So we've been married for a while, but we got to date each other. So we try to go on on Wednesdays, she works from home. So Wednesdays we'll try and hang out and maybe do like a lunch date or something like that and just spend time together. We try to at least once every 6 weeks or so do a weekend, whether it be like a staycation or we're just going to drive to Dallas for a weekend and maybe we're going to go to one of our cabins or something like that and just try to do something to where we can just get away with no kids every 6 at most 8 weeks. And then other than that, like we're big on experiences with our kids. So one of the things that my wife does for our daughters that I will do with my son whenever he gets older is like for birthdays, they have an option. Do you want a birthday party or do you want a one-on-one trip? And the kids always pick the one-on-one trip. So my wife will take the daughters on like one-on-one trip. They get to go wherever we want. And then we're big on like for Christmases and stuff like that, like taking lots of vacations and creating experiences. So we're going on like last weekend we were in, this is going to sound super snooty. Last weekend we were in Miami and the next week we're going to Hawaii for about 10 days. And so then next month we're going on a trip up to the mountains, like where we just try to plan all of these things to create experiences for our kids. So they know mommy and daddy work really, really hard, but at the same time, whenever we're together, we work hard, play hard.
Yeah. Oh man, all of that is so good. And I mean, Albert and I know we feel the same way. And I love how you reframed that at the beginning, where it's not about balance, it's about your priorities. And I think of my mom, she always says, put the big rocks in first,
Yeah.
And that's so true. And you demonstrate that in practical ways with, these date nights with your wife or weekend getaways with the kids. And I think anybody out there listening and is thinking about it in terms of balance, you probably need to reframe like in the way you just said and think about, what do I really want to prioritize? And for all three of us, I think it's God and then family and then maybe some of the pursuits when it comes to your career and everything. But when you get it right, things click. I also love the teamwork that you have with your wife, how you guys are willing to step in or out, do what it takes as a team. So it's just so much there that was good.
Yeah. And that takes some real communication.
Yep.
And staying on the same page. And I love the experiences piece to that, because you can buy your kid all the things, all the toys.
And they don't care about that.
Yes. They play with that for a day or a week. And then it's, just another thing in the toy box. But
yeah,
the trips, the memories, those are things that they'll remember forever.
Yeah.
And at first they didn't want to do it. And so we're like pitching the idea to him like a couple of years ago. And my daughter was like, I really want to have a birthday party and have all my friends and stuff like that. And I said, what'd you do last year for your birthday? She's like,
She couldn't remember.
Did we, I think we went to like the trampoline park. I was like, no. We did something else. We had like a pool party. So she's like, oh yeah. Okay. I remember that. I said, what's the last trip we went on? Oh, we went skiing a couple months ago and we did it. And she like went all in. I was like, that's why we're doing the trips. You're going to remember all of these experiences that you had as a family. You're not going to care that Susie came and bought you a, new doll.
That's so good. I'm going to steal some of that with my kiddos too for the next birthday.
I know. My boys love to travel.
All right. So Sean, looking ahead, what are you most excited for when it comes to your business and running your company?
Two things is one is I'm really excited for what we've got going on with the IV therapy business that we started. So it'll be about 1 year that we've had that one. We launched it last November. And so that is just now at the point where it's kind of somewhat stabilized. We've been pretty blessed and very thankful that just from the first month, it's been profitable, but we're at the point now to where we're starting to build out systems, build out the whole team and stuff like that, because that is the first business that my wife and I have that is not going to require us. So it's got staff that can run it and working in the process of parting in managers and stuff like that. The medical practice, they're obviously going to see her. With the marketing agency, they're wanting to fractional CMO. They want to talk to me. And so this is the first business that we've created to where it doesn't need that much of us. The Airbnb stuff is kind of the same, but we still self-manage that. So we're still talking, communicating to the guests and everything. But this is the first thing to where we're pretty hands-off with it. So I'm excited about that because it is teaching me how to build out systems to actually build a true business instead of like in essence, right now, if I'm being honest, the marketing agency is I've created myself a very high paying job, but it's still something I have to show up and I have to do. But this is the first time I feel like I'm actually creating a business. So that's really exciting. We're building out some new things for that. We're starting to look for a second location for that, because my goal with that business is to build it out so we could sell it off or we can franchise it eventually. So that's been really, really fun, just to kind of start to learn new things and new skill sets to build things in place. And on the marketing agency side, same thing, but different, is we're creating a new software program. So just like with our clients, we're trying to find out what are the problems that they're dealing with and how can we solve them. I think that a lot of marketing agencies, they try to overcomplicate. I think most industries try to make it seem like what they do is more difficult and complex than what it really is, to keep people from like leaving them. I think a lot of times in the fitness industry, they try to overcomplicate nutrition and supplements and working out. Like, it's actually pretty simple. I think the same thing kind of applies to marketing. Like, it seems like it's really difficult because you have all these terms that you might not be familiar with, like impressions, SEO, conversions, click-through rates. And you got all these things, but it's just like marketing terms that people use to make it sound confusing. Well, the same thing has happened, I think, with some of the software tools. And so the more clients we work with, we're starting to find out that they've got all these different tools. Just like we talked about, there's with what we do as a service, there's all these different services that they've done. They've been fragmented and duct taped together to their marketing service. Well, the same thing has happened with their tools. They've got all of these different things. They got one thing they're building their websites in. They got another tool for email marketing, another tool for text messaging marketing, another tool for posting social content. They got all these different tools, to where what we've been doing now is creating a software to where we're trying to make a marketing toolkit and CRM made simple. So we want to have, just like what our approach to marketing and everything is simple. We're building out a software that's called Story Guide Funnels. And the whole point of this software is your marketing toolkit CRM made simple. So it's going to be completely white glove onboarded for you. So a lot of times you sign up for something like a MailChimp or Active Campaign. Well, you've got to go through the onboarding, watch all these tutorial videos, and figure out how to connect everything, get it working. You guys are busy business owners. These people are busy business owners. They don't want to learn all the tech. They just want to know that the functionality is built out for them. So I'm really, really excited about doing that. And because that will, one, better serve the clients and the people that we're called to serve, which are busy business owners. But it'll also be one of those things that won't require me. I'm hiring today. We just ended up hiring some support staff to do like the 24/7 tech support for all the things and stuff. So it's hiring a team to they're actually building another business, which that's really fun.
That is so great. I think what some of the things that you were saying there remind me of Peter Thiel in 0 to 1. He talks about businesses that are trying to look big, trying to be self-aggrandizing. They talk about how great they are, and like the companies that are monopoly are just downplaying everything. And I'm thinking about in what you were saying earlier, a lot of people try to make what they're doing sound really complex, but it's really the confident business owner that, or in your case, a coach or consultant that's saying, no, guys, let's make this simple for you and just get this into a place where you can run it easily. And I think that's when you're working with somebody who really knows what they're doing. So I just love that. I love the approach you take. And I mean, it makes sense because in the words, made simple,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Did you want to add anything to that, Albert?
No, you hit it.
All right. Well, I think we're ready for our fire round.
I'm ready.
All right. So, Sean, what's your favorite movie?
Oof. Couldn't think of a movie. Can I go TV show? Favorite TV show, Office. I could honestly have The Office going on repeat 24/7. I love that show.
Yeah, that's a great choice. Great choice.
All right. What is your favorite book?
Again, I can't just pick one.
Aside from the Bible.
I was going to say, I give you the Sunday school answer, the Bible. Yeah. I will say this. I do think that if you want to have like but if you want to dramatically change your life, grab the book of Proverbs. There's 31 Proverbs. Read one chapter in Proverbs a day for whatever day of the month it is. If it doesn't have 31 days, on the 30th, read 2. But if you just would do that and you would start to think on that chapter each day, I would guarantee you your life and your business would change. So that's that. I would say the most influential business book that I have ever read, that I have read multiple times, I have listened to multiple times, and without like kind of sounding dramatic, I would say it dramatically changed my life, was Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. That book is one, I was never a reader before I was a business owner, but that book, I read it probably about 5 years ago, and it's a negotiation book. But whenever you actually read it and apply it and understand it, it's a communication book. And so it helps you to communicate with people. Yes, negotiation is communication, but it just helps you to understand how to have a conversation with people and how to actually connect with them. And I recommend that book to everybody all the time. It's a hands down favorite book.
Awesome.
Is that the one? Is that the guy? He was like a FBI negotiator. Oh,
So it's amazing. So one, it's practical advice, but the book is written in such a way where it's so engaging because he was a former FBI terrorist hostage negotiator. And each chapter starts out with a hostage negotiation scenario that he really had, but then he pulls the principles out of that and helps you apply it to business. It's amazing.
Yeah, that's a must read. All right. We've already had one that's like our third question, so I'm going to change it up a bit. If you could go to lunch with any entrepreneur, dead or alive, who would it be?
I would say at this point, just because I'm a fanboy, obviously, I would say Don Miller. So there's very few with a second choice of a guy that I've been following about the past 6 to 12 months is Dan Martell. And I'm hesitant to throw out some names of people because I think especially whenever I was in the fitness industry, I worked for this fitness app for a long time where I was their head of marketing for some of these big, huge fitness influencers and stuff, millions of followers and stuff. I think it's easy to get sucked into the vanity metrics of thinking that somebody's made it or successful because they're big on social media. But what I've realized is that means absolutely nothing. And honestly, those big, huge influencers, if they lost it all, and they lost their social media account and they had to start it over, they wouldn't be able to do it because they don't even know how it happened. It just happened. And they're like, I couldn't do it. And so because of that, I think that there's a lot of people that get sucked into some of those things, but it's really not that fancy. The other thing is this might sound cocky or weird, but there's nobody that I have found that has it all. And what I mean by has it all is they've built a successful business. They're a man or woman of God. They are fit and healthy, and their kids like them, and they're on their first marriage. Like, so that to me is having it all. So because of that, I am very cautious of who I allow to speak into my life. But saying that, I would say Don Miller and Dan Martell, they seem to be kind of the closest that I've found so far that have those things.
That's great. And I love the list you gave of having it all. I agree.
Yeah. Like there's so many people like, oh man, that guy's crushed it. He's so successful. He has it all. Why? Because he's got money. Like, have you seen, like, you realize that he got divorced, right? And he's never posted anything of his kids because his kids probably hate him. Seems pretty far from God because he seems to be drinking and stuff all the time. People's definition of having it all, I think, is pretty vague and weak.
It's good.
Last question. What words of wisdom or quote do you try to live your life by?
I'll rapid fire several here. Done is better than perfect. We kind of talked about a little bit of that earlier. The big one though is knowledge without application is meaningless.
Yeah, I wrote that down earlier.
We live in a society where we are bombarded with information. And too often, even business owners think that they're like growing their business, that they're learning things because they're watching content on social media. They're watching a YouTube video. Nothing against podcasts. We both have one, but they're listening to the latest podcasts and stuff. It doesn't matter. They're buying courses, all of these things. It doesn't matter the information that you absorb and that you know. It's what are you taking action on? There is a lot of poor people and unsuccessful and closed down businesses that have all of the information they need to be successful, but they didn't take action on the knowledge that they had. You don't need most business owners don't need another course or another YouTube video to finally make it. They need to just freaking shut off social media and go take action.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, I love that. All right. How can people get in touch with you? How can people do business with you?
Yeah, best way, just go to the website, SeanGarner.co. It's SeanGarner.co. On there, we got links to everything, links to all my social media. I'm probably most active on Instagram. If you send me a direct message or something on there, we got tons of free lead sources and things like that, or tools on the website. You can download those things and then listen to the Marketing Domination podcast where we talk about some marketing tips and hopefully eventually interview cool people like Stag Business Coaching, boys.
I love it.
Sounds great.
I love it with the plug at the end.
Yeah.
All right, man. We've been wanting to do this for a while. So glad you could join us today and hold our hand through this. So, man, I appreciate it. And we'll have to have you on again sometime soon.
Yes. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, guys.
Well, I hope you guys got a lot out of that episode. I know it was packed with a lot of practical nuggets and good stories. And so if you want more where that came from, go ahead and click subscribe and keep coming back for the next one. And if you are a business owner who feels stuck in your business, you feel like your business has hit a plateau and you can't grow anymore, or you are just stuck in the day-to-day, go to our website at www.stagcoaching.com and click in the upper right-hand corner to take our free business assessment. And in just a few minutes, in just a few questions, it will help diagnose with what is going on in your business, what's going wrong, what's broken, and where you are stuck. And we would love to help you with that. Thank you guys, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thank you.